Ladies and gentlemen, well, welcome to Meet People, this podcast to the Southwest Meat Association. I can't wait to have these conversations, and we're going to do everything we can to make it entertaining and valuable and a great representation of meeting the people.
Okay, Dr. Miller, just get that microphone comfortable, point it at your face, or scoot your chair over in front of it.
All right, I can do that.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, Meet People podcast aficionados, listeners, people from the SMA who are paying attention. I got a really cool guest. I'm excited about talking to him for a minute. Dr. Mark Miller, Texas Tech University's, just a staple in the meat industry and the meat judging world. Matter of fact, we just pulled him away from what's it called, the Southwest meat judging contest. And so we got a chance to just pick his brain for a minute, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we're really excited to be here. It's great to be in Fort Worth and Cowtown meat judging contest. It's the oldest one we have left that's in its original location, so that's pretty cool, and excited that there's still value for all of this beef, pork, and lamb here in the Metroplex.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, as a matter of fact, we ought to give Columbia a little shout out. Amber, Rusty, everybody over there hosted. They're doing the judging in their plant here in Ennis, and Forum Meat. The guys, Todd and Walter, have let me borrow their Forum Meat have let me borrow their conference room to conduct these interviews. So really appreciate. The industry is really so friendly in that way. I mean, I just said, hey, Todd, I got some podcasts to do. Can I borrow your conference room? He's like, let me set you up a door code. It was like just really easy.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of Texas. I mean, we have a really robust, beautiful industry, and, SMA would be a great example of that. And if you start looking at it, the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo and Fort Worth and Dallas, I mean, they just really have a love for, meat and for the meat business. And we couldn't be more blessed to have the Honorsack family be such a legacy partner in the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo Meats Contest. We hosted it over at Columbia Pack there in South Oak Cliff, Dallas, for roughly 30-plus years, and then, it moved. And so, Bob Honorsack is the one that kind of got in the boat and really started it for the Honorsack family, and they've just been amazing supporters ever since.
Yeah, I worked with Jim.
Yep, Jim.
I don't even know why I used it in the past tense. I work with Jim.
Yeah, we work with Jim.
That's right.
That's right.
You kind of, if you know Jim, you work with him. Like, he's just that kind of guy.
Yeah, he has a heart as big as Texas for this type of activity. Yeah. He really does.
I had Drew Cassins on earlier, and we were talking about who's the reigning national champion, and he was pretty proud to say it's Texas A&M. Is there any kind of rivalry in meat judging or across schools that you see or understand? I feel like there is, but maybe there isn't. I talked to somebody. One of the people was saying, well, Tex won it several years in a row. Do you feel like there's a competitive little underlying thing there, or is it mostly like, hey, we just want to get better, we want to build this industry? What's your perspective?
Well, I think it better be both. There's no doubt that if you want to really try to improve this industry and to be able to capture some of the best talent, we have to have meat judging, because it's the lure where we can get kids in here that would normally go off to business and accounting and other occupations, doctors, lawyers, and numerous other really professional activities where they could be extremely successful. But meat judging is really where we can get a kid diverted into the meat industry. Because if you go out and talk to somebody, hey, let's go to work in the meat industry, you probably get zero responses.
Yeah.
But you get them into meat judging, and they get to Columbia, they get to Cargill, Tyson, JBS, Hormel, all of these different plants. They start seeing how the industry works. They get to go to feedlots and Eckrich and all of the processing plants, and they get to start seeing retailers and Walmart and Sam's and Costco's, and they see how big this industry is. Then all of a sudden they go, I think I want to work there. And then what happens is meat judging, if they stay with it, they end up becoming as passionate about that as we are. And, I know when you're setting up, you go, I just love this. That's what those kids end up doing. And so to me, that's definitely a huge part and objective of why AMSA and universities support this thing so much. If you're not going to do it and want to do it to be competitive, to be the best, to pursue excellence, then we're not going to turn out the best kids. So if every university is not pursuing excellence and striving for honor and doing it in a service way, like, okay, we're going to try to really beat each other when we're on the cooler, but after that, we're all going to go to work together in this industry for the rest of our life, there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think it would be terrible if we weren't trying to be the best. Like if we weren't trying to have a rivalry, so to speak,
right.
But it all has to be kept in the right perspective where, because we're all family. It's such a small community that at the moment when you're competing, you don't see it as family. You might see it as they're my mortal enemy.
Yeah.
But what's funny is a lot of those kids end up getting married off of different teams from the rival and all of that stuff. So I would say hopefully that's a pretty good summarization of how it's truly both. It's a bitter rivalry, but in a way that's sort of like family. Like you may have had a sibling that you might have grew up with, and at the time you guys were kind of rivals, and then you grew up and all of a sudden you're best friends later on, right?
And you're like almost lost without them at times. It's like they help you in so many ways, and a lot of times you don't even understand all the ways.
Yeah, you don't. I think when you go through meat judging, it's almost like a spiritual activity. You become bound together with people from other teams through that activity in your spirit.
Yeah.
And I think that's why later on, you see that person 5 years later and you keep up with them on Facebook or whatever, X. And I think a lot of those kids, I was just at a wedding in May, and there were a lot of Texas A&M kids at that wedding, and it was both Texas Tech meat judges from 2020.
Yeah.
And it's vice versa. So I think that what we see is a lot of bonding that goes on, and the competition of making a rivalry is probably what makes that even more intimate.
Sure.
It really does.
I mean, doing hard things together.
Yeah.
That's like why you end up having such a close bond with the people you're in business with, or, you're working with at the university. Like you're doing hard things together, and it's almost this human characteristic that it's almost inevitable to avoid. Like you just draw closer.
It is. What a blessing. I mean, I don't know how we got so blessed to be at 100 years of meat judging. Like this is the 100th anniversary year, and we kicked it off at the National Western in Denver and tried to give those kids some background and stuff. And, this is going to be a great year.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to this. I feel like I should, but I don't. Like, how did you get into this whole ecosystem, I mean, did you judge meat? Was it kind of this same path you hear about a lot? Or how do you end up being kind of the man at Texas Tech for this amount of time?
Yeah, I would tell you that it's truly God that directed that. It wasn't anything that was planned.
Yeah.
And I think everybody would say that, but I don't believe anybody ever woke up at 13 or 15 or 16 and said, I'm going to go work in the meat industry. It's not that glamorous, Yeah. Everybody has other dreams than that. But what happened to me was I simply had an ag teacher who went to Texas Tech, and I guess that's what I applied there, went there, and I judged livestock. And so livestock judging was passion and is still. I mean, love it. Judged horses, judged everything you could judge at Texas Tech. And then at the very last, Gordon Davis was hired at Texas Tech, and he was recruiting a meats team. And he asked me to be on the meats team, and I said, no way am I going to judge anything else. And I mean, he called me at Christmas break, and we talked for like 3 hours, and that's when you had to pay 25 cents a minute for long distance. And still I wasn't going to do it. And then one morning, about January the 3rd, I packed up a bag and drove back to Lubbock. My parents were shaking their head going, what are you doing? I said, I guess I'm going to go judge this meat stuff. Yeah. So that's where it started, and, it just goes on from there. And I think that those stories are not unique. I think that everybody has a story like that. That's what makes this so special, because it's not a career path that really anybody chooses early on, but I think you get called into it. And it ends up being such a great thing because we have an amazing family in meat judging and in the meat industry. When you really get down to it, it's such a small community, and the whole world is kind of seems to not understand meats or the meat industry, so they tend to maybe do things that are not necessarily for what we think is our best interest.
Well, we got so far from it, really, in most every aspect of our life. Like, such a small percentage of people make up the meat industry.
They do, and that's why we become so close together. So I think that's what happened to me. And then, I went to work at the University of Georgia, and when I finished my PhD at A&M, and that was awesome. And then I got called to go to the industry and work there, and then came back to Tech. And what we've tried to do, and I was telling somebody today, any of the success and everything that we ever had, you couldn't plan it. God did it all. I mean, He crazily brings things and makes it happen, and that's what He's done with meat judging and how it's been here 100 years.
Yeah.
Like nobody could have put a plan together to make that happen.
Where'd you grow up?
Joshua, Texas.
Okay.
So I'm about an hour and 5 minutes from here, and still have our family farm. We were dairy farmers.
Okay.
And so all we knew how to do was work. You milk cows twice a day, 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. and
almost everybody
7 days
I've
a
talked
week.
to has that. Well, we just didn't know anything else. It was work. Like you just had to work.
And it wasn't work because what we did, we actually loved it, like what you're doing. You're here on a Sunday doing something. You have a lot of other things that you could do, but you do it because of the passion and love for it.
Yeah.
And I think that relates over to the meat industry and why meat judging. A lot of these contests are on Sunday because the plants that's the only day they're closed, so we can get in there.
You get to do it.
Most all the livestock and everything else and horses and wool is on a Saturday. And so at the end of the day, I think that we become a really close family of people who know what it is to love what you do so it's not work. Everybody said, when are you going to retire? I said, I've never started working yet.
Yeah. I
mean, literally, I have the best life ever. How can you not be so excited and passionate about all those kids? Yeah. They're the future. And I was on Tuesday talking to a group, and I said, a lot of people look at all the stuff that goes on, and we just report things more than we ever did. But I said, I'm telling you, we're in better hands today. The kids today are amazing. We don't have a thing to worry about. They are really unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I said
that's good to hear because a guy, somebody that's not as close to that.
Yeah, you don't see that.
I'm not in the pipeline or seeing the pipeline the way you do. And so I'm really excited to hear that. And I've heard it multiple times. It's not like you're an outlier. A lot of
it is.
They haven't put it in those exact words, but they're kind of like, "Hey, man, we got good kids coming up that are capable and kind of have good head on their shoulders and that kind of thing."
We do. We really do.
Do you have any hobbies besides this?
I do. I have family.
Yeah, there you go. That's
and
a pretty good
so I have
hobby.
4 children and just had our 9th grandchild.
Yeah.
And that's pretty chaotic. 5 of them are within 23 months of each other. We had the COVID baby boom. And that whole group right now is like 2.5 to 5, and they're crazy. And so, I'd say family is a really big effort. And then, I would say working in things that really, like ministry and missions and stuff like that is probably the biggest thing besides meat judging. And that's balance has always been fun, and it's a challenge, and it all feeds off each other.
Yeah.
Like I can't park one and leave the other. It kind of all goes together.
Right. I mean, something told me that's what you were going to say. But it's like your work is your hobby. Your family is your hobby. It's like it's all just this journey, calling. I love that word you use. It's like you get called back to Tech. You're kind of keeping God as an important piece of all decision making.
Yeah, he drove the bus. When I was driving it early on, it was a terrible disaster. And, at the end of the day, that's the hardest thing for all of us to understand is how we're not in control of anything.
Yeah.
And, I think that the way meat judging has grown, the explosion of it, you said Drew was in here.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's changed. It's been so good is a revitalization of universities and their commitment to excellence to be able to bring so many more students. Like we have record numbers of students this year. Like
just now I wasn't expecting. I've not been a part of meat judging or I've been in the industry, but I haven't been this close to the actual activity of meat judging. I wasn't expecting to see that crowd of judgers, so it was kind of eye-opening for me.
Well, it is. And I just talking to my daughter, about this same thing. It's like, our mom and I and our family, that talking to everybody and having and building a family was just the entire focus. Like I wanted to be around my kids, and I also wanted to coach a meat judging team. Right. So many of those activities would be together.
Yeah.
And so we would have them out to our house. They'd stay there. We'd feed them. And many of them grew up, and a lot of the kids on the team know them just like they do you and I.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think when you start separating things out and siloing them, you don't give the opportunity for all of the things that can grow together to be so personal and intimate. And that's what builds great alumni, right? If you feel like you go to a university, you get treated like a number versus being a family member, it's a huge difference in how you keep up over 40 years,
Yeah.
And 50 years. We're trying to get a real connection to keep bringing back. And, that we're getting a good return on that. People are coming back. And I think that's what happens in the industry. Those people are investing, and they're out there and making it better.
Yeah. What is your perspective on the role SMA plays in supporting industry players, supporting universities, scholarshiping some of these students? I mean, I have my own kind of hypothesis about these things, but I think it'd be cool to hear your experience with it.
Well, I would say SMA is transformational in my career because we didn't have anything like that when I first started. So I've been long enough, been around 36 years, worked with all the organizations, TAMP, SMA, and I would say that the transformation that's occurred with SMA and its ability to support the industry, especially in the areas of safety and quality, the things that an individual processor that's real small can't afford, to be able to provide those resources is absolutely it's transformed the industry in Texas and in the surrounding states and the constituency because you have a partner you can go to for help. And you didn't have that before. And then to answer the second part of your question about what it did in the university, the scholarship money and the impact that it has on students is, again, transformational. And every one of those students and the dollars that go to them are usually students that are in need. And they don't know really much about the meat industry, and then they get to go and see, and it makes really a good recruiting tool for us because we can partner with those members to get internships and a lot of other things in addition to the scholarship money.
Yeah. I mean, as a guy that's really only attached through the industry, the support SMA gave was huge, and the need for talent coming out of the university or even just from other sectors of the business and that kind of thing, it's like you need it. It's like, because if you grow your business, you eventually can't do it all.
No, you can't.
You got to have people to help you. So, I mean, to me, that's the fun piece of kind of seeing this from this perspective. It's like, man, we got good kids coming up. They're learning the right things. And meat judging, that's kind of the reason, in my opinion, to go to college. It just proves you're capable of starting a thing and finishing a thing.
No, that's exactly right. And I think that family would be the other thing is if you don't have SMA, nobody has a family because you got to have somebody to have like when Grandma had everybody over, the whole family came, right? Yeah. And I think that's another thing.
I've never heard that analogy, but that's a great one.
That's underestimated. That SMA gives people a feeling of family and inclusion and value. Like, I feel really valued because I'm a part of SMA. Yeah. Because SMA is my family. And I think that's something that you can't measure in dollars. And I think that's what we get. And I relate that to meat judging because that's the same thing. Like, at the end of the day, people come back and they tell me that, really this is probably the closest thing I've ever had to family, or it's as close as my family. And so they create a new family. Yeah. I think SMA does exactly that.
I don't even know what to say because I think that's one of the best analogies I've heard. My grandma, when she was here, we went to her house every Sunday and had
everybody
lunch,
went, right?
And everybody came, all the uncles, all the cousins, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, she passed away. We don't do it anymore.
Correct.
So it's like, hey, SMA, you're the industry's grandma, and it's a pretty cool thing.
It is, and I guarantee if we didn't have that, and everybody wouldn't get together.
Yeah, you just drift away. It's not like you lose the love for each other or the interest in each other. It just, there's no like accountability to it. Like if you don't show up to grandma's, you're going to be accountable. She's going to call you and say, what's the deal? How come you didn't come?
It is. And, it's like in the old religion, it's like the tie that binds. Truly, I think that SMA is the tie that binds people together. And I think that's why it's so successful.
Yeah.
Why do people do what they do, volunteer all that time, do all they do? Yeah, the kids are important. But it's also that family, that commitment to each other that you just don't get if you're just doing it by yourself.
I know. Well, we've done, I don't know, up over 20 episodes. And almost every one of them is going to have that thread in the conversation. I'm hoping we get new people to the industry through the podcast, or at least aware of it, or, into the SMA and involved. Because, and it's one of those kind of things I'm like, are people going to get tired of hearing that? I don't think so.
No,
I mean, it's an uplifting kind of truth. And, oh, cool, yeah, nice reminder. That's right. These people are proving it again. They're bringing it up, this family atmosphere.
It's exciting. I mean, it's really one of those things where if you look around in the United States, we're so fortunate and blessed. In Texas, we take for granted what we have.
Yeah.
And, I think that our universities, our FFA, 4-H programs, SMA, a great example of that, all working together. Everybody they come here and they can't believe it, and they're so envious.
Yeah.
Because they said, I wish we had that in our state.
Yeah.
And I think that that's probably, we got to make sure that we extend that out, because the impact SMA has in 4-H and FFA is huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's, and those kids come all the way through.
Yeah.
Registration is now open for SMA's 70th Annual Convention and Suppliers Showcase, happening July 22nd through the 25th. Join the Southwest Meat Association for one of the industry's longest-standing events, bringing together professionals from across the meat industry for networking, education, and connection. From engaging sessions to valuable face-to-face opportunities on the Supplier Showcase floor, to activities and experiences that make it fun for the whole family. This is an event you don't want to miss. Visit our website to register today and secure your spot.
You said you worked in the industry for a little bit. What was that all about?
So I took a job in being in charge of food safety, research and development, training, and quality assurance for the pork division in ConAgra, which was Montford at that time.
Okay.
And so was building that from scratch. And so I was there and worked with a lot of great people, Paul Clayton, Rod Bowling, Billy Lloyd. And it was a very innovative time. And so a lot of things that we have today, like HACCP and things like that, we actually were doing the testing for that with USDA.
Yeah.
And so we did healthy choice ground beef. We did chemical deherring. We were doing all kinds of wild and crazy things in the R&D area. Yeah. And then also we put in statistical process control, HACCP, and management of quality through empowering people to take care of the quality right where they're at, as opposed to trying to inspect it at the end. And that was a great time. The reason I took that job is I wanted to be a better professor and to be able to teach real-world things in an academic setting. And that really paid off. I don't know how I got so blessed to be able to go and have that job. Yeah. With that team at that time was just really an amazing thing.
Well, that is cool. I mean, I forget that there was a time when HACCP wasn't a thing. You know, it was done way different. My whole career has been underneath HACCP. So, I mean, as I started into the business, my first job was to come to the plant and know what the word HACCP means. You know, I'd never heard it before. I had no clue. So I just never experienced any other structure. But for a lot of people, that transition was really interesting, you know, or scary, all those kind of things.
Well, it was, and somebody had to be the guinea pig, and we were it.
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate. The reason why we got to be the guinea pig is it gave us a chance to do some things that would help us if we performed at a high level, like run faster line speeds. Yeah. And anyway, it was really a good experiment that evolved right into HACCP. And so the industry was just a great time, and the team we had there was amazing.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about Texas Tech's meat science, school and program, or, how's it structured? Just tell me about it, because I really don't know. I was in the ag school, but I studied ag economics. I never really got involved on that side of the college.
Well, we have a really dynamic program that's housed in the Department of Animal and Food Sciences, and we have around 17 faculty members, counting all of our safety and quality people. And then we have a full-time for-profit business we started because the state of Texas does not fund academic programs or especially meats programs adequately. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And so we were broke. And at the end of the day, I was driving to San Antonio because I serve as a San Antonio chair to do the show, and I'd put together a business plan for a group that was going to license our name, Raider Red Meats, and give us a royalty for that, which would help pay us out of the debt we had. And the guy, we signed our in, and then he was going to sign his in, and he passed away suddenly. And so I just sat there and I go, man. And so I sat in a filing cabinet and driving to San Antonio. He said, well, you do it yourself. So I went to the CFO and asked him for a line of credit so we could buy meat and start a for-profit business to pay the bills. I said, hey, we're negative this much. You give us this, and we can afford to pay it all off, and then we'll be in the black ever since. So we did, and that's been the greatest thing. So we have a business, and the reason we really sold it is so the students could get experiential work opportunity while they're at college, and that's business. So we have like 28 restaurants we service. We do in the retailers. We have retail bacon, sausage, and all of those things.
I know, you son of a gun, because I was trying to sell bacon against Red Raider Meats, and it's like, in Lubbock, you can't beat Red Raider. Is that right, Red Raider Meats?
Yeah, it's Raider Red Meats.
Raider Red, yeah. I had the words backwards. But
we don't ever actually, it's all about being able to fund the program that we need. Right. So our meats program is made up of research, teaching, and public service. We have educational programs we do at San Antonio for 21 days, and we touch well over probably 300,000 to 500,000 people. And our students do all of that.
Yeah.
So we'll have 60-something students that go through San Antonio in rotations, and they'll do presentations and serve samples and how to cook and just simple things like how to cook the best steak, and we'll have a competition. Yeah. Then we get to do the state fair. We're really blessed to do the same thing at State Fair. It's called the Meat We Eat at San Antonio, and then it's like Farm to Fork at State Fair.
Yeah.
And so we try to make sure that we, truly our mission is to, try to pursue excellence in every area, but to turn out students that can be change agents.
Yeah.
That it can impact where they walk in. So when they walk into a room, they bring life to the room and they don't suck it out.
Yeah.
They're not a negative to whatever you're doing.
That's a real life lesson right there. Any room you walk into, try to add energy. Don't suck the energy out.
Well, it's hard.
It's just for anybody doing anything. That's a good thing or a good way to approach it.
Yeah, we would hope that the ROI is for the people that hire our students, that they get a good return because those people bring a lot to the table.
Yeah.
And we test them. We have them volunteer a lot to get a lot of things done. We're doing a lot of big studies right now where we're needing to take about 35 people to beef plants and fab out, hundreds of head and sides of carcasses. And those kids have to load up. We actually went to Schuyler, Nebraska, and did one 2 weeks ago and last week and got caught in that ice storm.
Oh, yeah.
And, and so those kids are out there doing that, missing classes. And so if you really just want to say what our program's about, it's about a team of people that are working together to try to develop students, and give them another family to be part of,
Yeah. Well, everybody that's kind of, I'd say, on the academia side that I've talked to, talk about recruiting students. I never really thought about it like that. I mean, everybody is out there, same as I'd recruit a new employee or something. The schools are doing a similar thing. They're looking to recruit the best and brightest students because that's how I think you said it earlier. It's how you get better. Like if you got tough competitors, that's going to help you get better in every way.
Yeah, you're only as good as your students.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to get the best and where you're at,
Yeah.
And I would say that what happens is that competition we're talking about. Like, who gets to be the national champion is not really determined by who's the best team. It's always determined by, how it all ends up and how it's supposed to be. Because there's fine line, there's like 7 really top-notch programs, and you can go from 1st to 7th in just one contest.
Sure.
And then rearrange that whole stack, which is really good because we didn't have that depth. And having that much depth means that we're getting that many more students into all these programs, and that's why you see record numbers.
Yeah.
Like 200 kids here and having to read 160 sets of reasons never happened in the history of me judging.
Yeah.
And that's all because of what we've been talking about here.
Yeah.
That more people are out there recruiting kids to come to their university. And so that means that instead of universities having 5 or 6 people, a lot of them are dragging 12 and 14. Yeah. And all 14 of them get the same good out of it as the 6 or 7 did.
Yeah.
So we've really doubled our output of high-quality kids for the industry.
Fun story, man. I hope all
is.
y'all are listening, enjoying, sharing the show, telling other people in the industry about what we're doing here at the Meet People podcast and really at the SMA and in these universities and businesses. And, somebody said earlier, some of my meat judgers go on and be lawyers. And I was like, that's right. The meat industry needs lawyers too. I mean, doesn't that make a pretty good lawyer if you're in the a business in the meat industry and you need some legal advice? Oh, well, I judge meat. Oh, cool. You understand a little bit about what we're doing here. So,
I would add to
a
that.
Cool thing.
I have students that are dentists, orthodontists, doctors, lawyers, heart surgeons, pediatricians.
Yeah.
It's, those professional schools, nursing, physical therapy.
Yeah.
We have kids go everywhere, but you know what? They're advocates.
Do you
and
have
they're
judges
some of our
that
best.
are not in the ag school? Do you have people on the meat judging team that aren't in the ag school?
I did. In 24, I had a mechanical engineer.
Yeah.
I've had engineers. I've had business people that are not in ag school, not in animal science, and
They want to judge meat.
yeah, and they're some of the best because you know what? Meat industry needs engineers.
Yeah. I mean,
They need all of it, right?
So much.
You think
so
about
true.
healthcare and everything.
You just think about that steak or chicken breast or pork chop. You just kind of think about the meat industry like that.
Right.
It's just so much more.
There's a facility over there.
Yeah. I mean, there's a podcast.
Yeah.
There's so
communications.
many,
That's right. We have a lot of
communications,
communication skills.
marketing. All right. So really,
Thank you.
Yeah, so much. And quickly, I got to get your perspective on the Texas Tech Red Raider football team. You pay attention to them any, softball
you
teams,
can't not pay attention.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as an alumni, as a guy who kind of never has seen Tech be a perennial, I love the Leach era. We were exciting, It was kind of cool to see the team go to the levels it has. The softball team was really good. I feel like it's NIL money maybe from donors and alumni. You're closer to it, so that's why I'm asking. What's your perspective?
Well, I think that what happened with the NIL is it leveled the playing field. And so what happened is everybody can play ball now. Beforehand, it was not fair. It was unlevel, and some people had an advantage, and they didn't want to give it up. And so now it's equal.
Yeah.
And so money is not what's driving it. Like everybody has enough money. It still comes down to where is the place that the kid's going to flourish the most. And that's where the kids are going to end up. And so Nigeria Kennedy, what people don't ever understand is at the SMA meeting in 2024, I got accosted by my Aggie friends because that day was the day that Nigeria signed with Texas Tech. And A&M offered her $250,000 more money to go to A&M than we did. And that story never gets told.
Yeah, right.
And that she came because the coach fit her, and he talked to her only about hitting. Like, he didn't talk to her about pitching for all that time and how he could develop her. He put a plan together. He had a spreadsheet on how I'll take you to be the best hitter in the nation and the best pitcher in 2 years. So to me, I think that's a perfect description of the NIL, is that everybody's going to have to be able to know what and how they can do what with the talent. It's still a young it's a still young person, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it still goes back to the family story and the personal relationship. And if you're just going to go out there and try to do it with money, you're not going to be successful. Because we know
We've all seen people throw money at
we
stuff
know
and
this
it don't
year
work.
that the highest paid teams didn't make the playoff, right?
Yeah.
So it's not only money. And the first year was money. But literally it hasn't been money. It's not only money, but you're going to have the right culture. You're going to have the right family, and you're going to be able to get the best kids.
I always wondered
gonna
that
be that
a little
way.
bit because I loved Lubbock so much. I was just like, why does it feel like people don't want to come to Lubbock? And when I say people, I mean like 5-star athletes or
Right.
these highly recruited, mostly athletes. I don't know why. Sometimes I feel bad because I pay attention that much to athletes because there's so much other stuff happening.
Is.
Where there are superstars, but you just kind of fall into this little thing of like, well, is the football team good? Well, is the basketball team good? I don't know why that is, and I always wondered why people don't come to Lubbock because I thought it was just so great. But I think I just have a kind of a warped viewpoint on it.
Yeah, I think Lubbock has become the best place to live for athletes right now and for a lot of other people because university is exploding, and it wouldn't be the topography. We don't have mountains. It wouldn't be a lot of other things, We have dust storms, tornadoes, and rattlesnakes and prairie dogs.
Yeah.
But the family there is crazy good, and they care about people, and they care about the kids, and you can see that. And I think that the coaches that we have hired have that mentality. As long as they do, they'll be successful. Like the basketball coach on the women's and the men's side are doing really well, and But I guess if I was going to summarize Lubbock, and I've always said this when I was talking to kids to recruit them there, I said, you're going to have somebody bring a pie or cookies over to your door, somebody next door, and introduce themselves and say, hey, how can I help you? And if you ever need anything, here's my contact. And I had a young lady from Florida that came, and her parents came out, and they were driving to the play Texas. And it was this is before cell phones, late, like 5:45 on Saturday afternoon. And the radiator hose blew out on the car, and there's no way. You're just stranded, right? Big truck, farmer pulls over. Can I help y'all? Yeah, okay, blew a radiator hose, calls up, goes in, and actually had to beat on the door of the guy that had the parts shop.
Yeah.
Gets him to go down, get the radiator hose, goes out there and change it. Took him about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I guess that's, to me, that's what Texas was all over the state when I grew up. With the urban explosion, we still have that. Yeah. And that's probably the best recruiting thing that you could ever have is when people actually stay there and get to know it. Like you said, I loved it, but up front you didn't know you loved it. And that's probably the way it is all the time.
I mean, I lived on a cotton farm out there with a lifelong friend, one of my best friends that I met at college who's from Lubbock, and I lived on a little cotton shack, cotton farm shack and helped them farm cotton. They just, I think I had the luckiest college experience of any kid ever.
Yeah,
I went and lived with this kid, and then his mom cooked us dinner every night. It was like I just got a new family.
Yep.
It was just really great. So if you haven't checked Lubbock out, go check them out. Dr. Miller, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. SMA, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All the listeners to the Meet People podcast, tell somebody about it. And if there's something we can do better, tell me. I'd love to hear it. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Come back.
All right.